You won't believe what this HOA Karen did. She thought she was untouchable, marching around the neighborhood with her clipboard, barking orders, and threatening everyone with fines. But when she decided to cut open a man's locked gate to steal his Jeep, she didn't realize that the ordinary guy she was messing with wasn't just a homeowner. He was working with the police task force. And what happened next? Let's just say karma showed up faster than flashing blue lights. Meet Ethan, a quiet, hard-working mechanic who had just moved into a gated community on the edge of town. He wasn't flashy, didn't like drama. He just wanted peace and quiet after years of working late nights at an auto shop. But this neighborhood had one big problem. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. She wasn't officially on the board. She was just one of those people who thought she ran the place. Every rule, every minor infraction, she took personally. Grass too long? Fine. Fence color not neutral enough? Violation. And heaven forbid you parked somewhere she didn't approve. Ethan had heard the stories before he moved in, but he thought people were exaggerating. He was wrong. Ethan's pride and joy was his dark green Jeep Wrangler, customized with reinforced bumpers, special suspension, and, unbeknownst to most people, some serious security upgrades. It wasn't just for off-roading. Ethan often volunteered with a local police task force, helping with surveillance and technical vehicle modifications for undercover ops. One day, the task force needed to use Ethan's Jeep for an upcoming joint operation, but since Ethan lived near the target area, they agreed to keep the Jeep parked on his property behind a locked gate for a few days as part of the setup. Everything was going smoothly, until Karen saw it. She stormed up to the gate, arms crossed, lips pursed, already on a mission. To her, it wasn't community approved. The Jeep didn't look like the shiny sedans or SUVs the HOA brochure bragged about. No, to Karen, it looked aggressive and tactical, and she didn't like it one bit. That afternoon, Ethan heard loud knocking on his front door. He opened it to find Karen, wearing sunglasses, holding a clipboard, and glaring like she'd caught a criminal. "Mr. Thomas," she began, "we've had several complaints about the military vehicle parked behind your gate. It violates HOA Regulation 14C. No commercial, industrial, or unsightly vehicles may be stored on private property." Ethan kept his cool. "It's not commercial or industrial, Karen. It's my personal vehicle." "Well, personal or not," she snapped, "it's an eyesore. It doesn't fit our community image." He sighed. "Karen, it's parked on my property, behind a locked gate. You can't see it unless you're spying." That hit a nerve. "I'm doing my job," she shot back. "And if you don't move it by tomorrow, I'll have it towed." Ethan gave her a calm, knowing smile. "Be careful, Karen. You might be messing with something way above your pay grade." But Karen just scoffed and walked off muttering, "We'll see about that." The next morning, Ethan left early for work, but not before checking his security cameras. The Jeep was safe, everything looked fine. But later that afternoon, something unbelievable happened. Karen came strutting down the sidewalk, gloves on, bolt cutters in hand. She glanced around, then quickly cut the padlock on Ethan's gate. She pulled out her phone, calling the towing company she'd arranged. "Yes, I'm the HOA representative. The owner gave verbal consent. It's an unauthorized vehicle." The tow truck driver hesitated, but Karen flashed her HOA badge like it was an FBI ID. Within minutes, the driver hooked up the Jeep and hauled it away. Karen stood there, arms folded, proud of herself. She even took a selfie in front of the empty driveway and sent it to the HOA group chat with the caption, "Another rule breaker handled." But what Karen didn't know was that the Jeep wasn't just Ethan's. Inside the Jeep were surveillance cameras, tracking devices, and encrypted police equipment being used for an active investigation. The moment the tow truck moved it, alarms went off at the local precinct. Within minutes, Ethan's phone blew up with calls. "Ethan, what happened to the Jeep? It's moving. GPS says it's headed downtown." Ethan checked his cameras. Gate cut open, lock destroyed. He felt his stomach drop. He raced home, met by 2 unmarked police SUVs and a half-dozen officers. Karen was standing there too, smirking. Well, look who's in trouble now," she said, crossing her arms. Maybe next time you'll follow HOA rules." Ethan didn't say a word, he just pointed to the officers behind her. "Actually, Karen, you might want to stick around. You're going to want to hear this." The officers started asking questions, reviewing Ethan's footage. They clearly saw Karen cutting the lock, calling the tow truck, and authorizing the removal. When she realized the Jeep was part of a police operation, Karen's confidence evaporated. Wait, I didn't know. I thought it was his personal car." One officer turned to her and said coldly, "Ma'am, you tampered with law enforcement property and interfered with an ongoing investigation. That's obstruction and criminal trespass." Karen's face went pale. No, this is a misunderstanding. I was just enforcing HOA rules." Another officer handed her a citation. "You can explain that to the judge." The tow company quickly returned the Jeep, escorted by officers. The equipment was still intact, thankfully, but the task force had to halt their operation temporarily. Karen was fined heavily, not just for trespassing, but also for damage to property and interference with a police investigation. The HOA board immediately called an emergency meeting. Neighbors had already seen the video footage circulating in local Facebook groups titled, "HOA Karen Cuts Lock, Gets Arrested by Police Task Force." By the end of the week, Karen was officially banned from all HOA activities. She lost her community enforcer privileges, and her reputation was destroyed. She tried to play the victim, claiming Ethan set her up. But nobody believed her. Ethan, on the other hand, became somewhat of a local legend. The quiet mechanic who caught an HOA Karen in 4K and helped the police catch a trespasser. A few weeks later, Karen showed up at Ethan's door again, this time with her head down and no clipboard. "I just wanted to apologize," she muttered. "I didn't know you were, involved with the police." Ethan smiled slightly. "Karen, you shouldn't have to respect people because of who they are. You should respect them because it's the right thing to do." She said nothing, just shuffled away. The neighborhood changed after that. Without Karen policing everyone, people actually started talking to each other. They helped repaint fences, organized BBQs, and even thanked Ethan for standing up to the HOA bully. Ethan's Jeep stayed parked right where it was, lock repaired, camera installed, and a small sign on the gate that read, "Private property, do not enter, even if you think you're in charge." Karen kept her distance after that. Every time she passed by, she'd glance at the Jeep like it was a ghost from her past, reminding her that power without respect leads to downfall. So what's the takeaway here? Power doesn't come from bossing people around. It comes from doing what's right. Karen thought she could use authority to control others, but in the end, her arrogance got her into real legal trouble. Ethan didn't need revenge. He just needed the truth to come out. And when it did, justice handled the rest. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real-life stories where karma strikes back in the best way possible. And remember, respect is earned, not demanded. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.